And good morning, everybody. Welcome. Hot Takes, Goodman and Haertl. Bruce is taking an extended vacation from me. Our big get this morning, notice how I did that, Myck. Our big get this morning is Myck Miller from Fox 31. I like to keep it in the family. I kind of feel like the grandfather of the group, where I was the first one in the door at Fox 31. Bruce is the father, you're the son, and usually the son has a hat on backwards. How are you, my friend?
I'm good. How are you? Don't tell Colin Cowherd that I have a backwards hat, or I'm sure I will be labeled as a unprofessional broadcaster that nobody should hire. But I appreciate you taking the time and letting me come on.
Well, you know, it's funny that you should mention that. Let's refer to that briefly before we get this thing going. What he basically said many, many years ago was, it's hard to be a leader, or it's not hard to be a leader, but how do you take a leader seriously when he's wearing his hat on backwards, right?
Yeah.
How old are you?
I am 31.
You are forgiven. You are forgiven. But I'll be honest with you. There is a part of me, and this is, you know, the old guy yelling at clouds routine. I used to wear a hat on backwards all the time. When I was 31, I wore a hat on backwards. Right now, you are not. I mean, you are one of the main sports guys at Fox 31, but you are not leading that department. If you were the head of a company, would you wear your hat on backwards at the age of 40?
Depends on the setting. Like if I'm in a meeting where we're pitching to Smokin' Dave's Barbecue or Nola Jeans, and I'm trying to pitch them, hey, we're part of this program called Colorado Sports Night. It's the only 30-minute show in the state of Colorado. I'm going to show up in a suit.
Yeah.
But if it's me and my buddies at eating at Nola James on a weekend,
right,
I'm going to wear my hat backwards. It's all about understanding like the setting and understanding where you're being. To set an umbrella statement, that's where like I get like people of my generation get checked out when a Colin Cowherd says something like that. Like, kind of depends on the setting. If it's a professional setting where you're trying to make an impression, then yes, guess what? I'm not even going to wear a hat frontwards, let alone backwards. It's going to be completely different. But yeah, in a setting where I can come on a show like this and you're saying, hey, you got to wear a tuxedo tomorrow, and I know you're kind of pulling my leg.
Right.
I'm like, all right, cool. I can roll out of bed. I can throw on a hat instead of, spending 20 minutes on my, receding hairline trying to get my hair to behave.
So, and I agree with you. If you're out with your boys, that is different. But when you go into work and you have a position of leadership and power and you walk into the office, would you wear a hat on backwards?
No, absolutely not.
And that's his point. That was exactly his point. So when he was talking about a Jay Cutler, as an example, who wore his hat on backwards, he is at work when he is standing on the sideline. Would you agree or disagree?
Well, and I think particular when he talks about the press conference, like if Bo Nix is at the press conference talking with the media on Wednesday that he does every single week and his hat is backwards. All right, I can kind of understand, but also remember, like, they're football players. They're not CEOs. So, there we go. We're rocking the backwards hat today.
And camo. Hey, real quick, want to let you know about a great place to watch the CU game on Friday. That is the Sportsbook Bar and Grill. They have two fabulous locations, one in the DTC. The other one is in Highlands Ranch. I'm actually going to be at the Highlands Ranch location on Friday to watch the game with a bunch of friends. It is going to be absolutely packed. They're going to have great drink specials. The bar was started by three friends of mine, Jeremy, John, and Judson. They are all sports fans. When you walk in that bar, you're going to say, this is how I would design a bar. And oh, by the way, they're getting ready to design another bar. And that one is going to be in Parker. The Sportsbook Bar and Grill will be opening in Parker real soon. Time now for the lead.
The lead is presented by Sasquatch Casino, a family-owned casino that treats you like family.
Okay, so the Broncos made their roster cuts. They are down to 53. Myck, anything surprise you?
I was surprised that Lavelle Bailey got cut because we'll get to this later on in the show, but I always just feel like when you have a unit that you needed to upgrade in the offseason and your upgrade came like as a used car, like 60,000 miles, it's really good still, but you don't know if, it's going to blow and you're going to have to get some maintenance done a la Dre Greenlaw, a la Alex Singleton with injury issues, you would want a young guy like LaVelle Bailey to have on the roster to be like, hey, if something goes wrong, you are our go-to guy. And listen, I am not as savant when it comes to evaluating the linebacker position. So when a guy like LaVelle Bailey sticks out to my eye in training camp and sticks out to my eye in a preseason game, I would assume that I'd want that guy on the roster. Now, I think the hope is that he'll clear waivers and you bring him on the practice squad. But don't you not want to play the risk of somebody picking him up? Sean Payton's talked about it time and time again, that he does not want to see one of the guys that he cuts go on to make an impact somewhere else. I mean, Todd Davis did that. He played for Sean Payton when he was in New Orleans, ended up in Denver, and helped the Orange and Blue win a Super Bowl. So when I saw LaVelle Bailey was one of the players being cut, that was a little bit of a shocker just because I know they value depth. And at the linebacker position, I would have wanted some depth at that position in particular should something go wrong with an Alex Singleton or Dream Greenlaw in a 17-game regular season.
Well, you brought up the two guys, Singleton, Greenlaw, then Sanders goes down. And then you see LaVelle Bailey with the starters. It looked to me like he was holding his own. So much, in fact, I'm like, boy, if we had to put this guy out there, I shouldn't say we, if the Broncos have to put this guy out there in a starting role, I wouldn't feel great, but I certainly wouldn't feel skittish about it. I mean, this guy was in the middle of plays. So to your point, when I saw this, I was like, that's interesting to me. With that, Sean Payton yesterday at the press conference, he addressed the situation of Jeremy Crawshaw, who has struggled during the preseason games. You know, I know people say, it's just a punter. Well, punters can be important, especially when they can flip the field. I think he had like 6 kicks in the preseason. 5 were not particularly good. And I'm thinking, are they going to wind up bringing in someone to at least challenge him? And I probably should have looked at Sean Payton's history before I even made that statement. He drafted a punter, I think it was back in like 2009, Thomas Morstead, who struggled during his rookie season. Second year, he was better. Third year, he was one of the best punters in the league, got a 6-year contract extension, and then he was an all-pro second team the 4th year. So how patient do you expect Payton to be with Crawshaw if he comes out of the gate and he is not punting well, even though the history suggests he will be patient?
It's one of those things that special teams aren't special. That's when a head coach decides to make a decision. Like if Bo Nix is putting the team in the right position, if the defense is playing at a top 5 level, and then there's just this one thing that's really messing up the ride, I could see Sean Payton then being like, okay, listen, we are in a window. I told everybody that would listen that we are competing for a Super Bowl. And if the one thing I think is going to screw us up come playoff time, or maybe week 17, week 18, when we're a couple plays away from securing a home playoff win, a la AFC West Division Championship, then that's something that I think that he would be impatient on and look at Darren Rizzi and be like, all right, we need to go find something that can fix this ASAP. It's not going to be something that's going to be decided in weeks 1, 2, 3, and 4. But when we get to the halfway point of the season where we get closer to the bye week and they're evaluating the roster and this punter continues to be an issue, then I could see him doing it just because he's told everybody from the mountaintop down that this is a team that can win a Super Bowl and that Bo Nix is going to be a top 5 quarterback in the NFL in a matter of mere seasons. So if it's one of those things where special teams isn't playing special, then I definitely could see Sean Payton trying to address that as soon as possible.
I'm going to throw a golf analogy your way. Tell me if I'm, way off base on this. You're playing in a foursome, you're playing in a scramble, and you get to pick your team from the driving range. And you see a guy out there just smoking it and striping it right down the middle. He's not perfect, but you're like, man, this guy could really, really help us. The format of this scramble is you can change out one golfer every 3 holes. All right. So the guy that you think is just banging it off the tee, 5 of his opening 6 shots are not very good. He's worm burning a couple. He's chunking another. He's slicing another. That to me is what Jeremy Crawshaw has done. He's been great at the driving range, which is practice. But when it comes to actually hitting the course, and he's going to be the ball that you're going to take off the tee, and he's throwing it in the woods, aren't you kind of like, I don't know how much longer we can stick with this guy?
Yeah, for sure. Like it's one, like you said, like if you, I always had it, and I'll use a basketball analogy back to your golf analogy. I had a teammate that would knock down every corner 3-pointer in practice. The second he got out of the practice jersey and into his real jersey, we're hitting the side of the backboard, we're airballing, and I'm looking at coach and I'm like, if you keep running this play and you keep wanting me to pass to this dude in the corner, I'm going to look at him, I'm going to go right to the basket, and I'm going to shoot it myself because I do not trust this guy. And over time, they eventually will tell you who they are. And so, yeah, I remember the training camp practice where everybody was salivating over this punter. And I'm like, really, guys, this is what we're doing right now? Like, we're at that point of training camp where we are salivating over punters and airtime and all this nonsense. And then all of a sudden, you know what one of the storylines around the punter was? He actually wasn't that good.
All right, most teams have holes in their roster. When you look at the Broncos, the way they are currently set up, you see holes anywhere?
I don't see holes, but I see pressure that could explode and become a hole, and that's the linebacker position, and that's why I was so shocked.
You mean inside linebacker?
Yeah, inside linebacker, because I think outside linebacker, you're good. You can put pressure on the outside. But, Eric, as you know, what have the Denver Broncos struggled year in and year out recently of covering? Tight ends in the middle of the field. You turn on the Cincinnati Bengals tape and you're like, holy cow, aside from Riley Moss getting cooked by T. Higgins, you're like, can anybody guard Mike Gesicki?
Right.
Or can anybody guard Dawson Knox up in Buffalo, the middle of that field? And I think that's why you go get Dre Greenlaw. And I think that answers the question. Alex Singleton, the tackling machine being back and healthy, answers the question. All right, middle of the field, inside linebacker, we're good. But we're also one injury away from that being a big-time issue. And I don't think it's one of those things if Dre Greenlaw goes down or Alex Singleton goes down. Like you said, Drew Sanders is on the IR. It's not one of those things that you can just go in the practice squad and be like, all right, I'm going to go throw somebody into this defense. Like, you're really going to need some elite play in the middle of the field. So inside linebacker is, I think, the one place. It's not a hole right now, but you're one injury away from it being kind of a black hole.
Okay, so we're heading into the regular season. Let's just take a quick step back. Let's look at the preseason. What, if anything, did you see in the preseason that makes you go, okay, hopefully this will get better?
Deja vu with the offense coming out slow again. Like, how are we having pre-snap penalties on the second play of the game in New Orleans when no one's at the game?
Right.
Like, that concerns me. Like, and it goes back to the punter situation, right, with Jeremy. Like, during joint practices and during training camp, Bo Nix and the offense looked really, really good.
Right.
Then all of a sudden we got into game situations at San Francisco, at New Orleans, and I'm looking around and I'm like, Sean Payton said it wasn't set in stone 8 to 10 plays, but the fact that he has to then write that in pencil and erase it because his offense is coming out slow, that's a little concerning to me. That during these game situations, that was when you guys can't figure this out because, hey, I know it's at home against the Titans and on the road against the Indianapolis Colts, and you should theoretically be 2-0 at the end of it. But you cannot start the season 0-1 for the third straight year. You just can't, especially with it being an AFC opponent, and that might be a tiebreaker at the end of the season. So it's just the offense in game situations coming out slow once again, and an offense where you're returning the entire starting five from the offensive line, and Cortland Sutton and Bo Nix have probably thrown footballs to each other more than anybody in the NFL right now.
Listen, when you are playing a rookie quarterback, whether he was the number one pick in the draft or not, and you have the type of defense the Broncos have, you're right. They have no excuse losing this game. I'm with you on that. I don't think that they will start 0-1. But they have an opportunity, certainly, to blow the Titans' doors off. And I can tell you what I think the narrative is going to be. The Broncos don't just need to win this game. They need to win convincingly. It doesn't mean that, I don't know. If they don't win the game convincingly, it's still a win. But I think with the expectations we have, I think people are going to start to panic and say, wait a minute, maybe they're not as good as we thought. They played a team that had the number one pick in the draft last year. And when you get the number one pick in the draft, clearly you're not very good. And then you get a rookie. So I have a strong feeling that with what everybody is saying about this team going into the season, they just don't have to win. They have to win big for people not to start scratching their heads and say, maybe we overvalued this team.
And you'll remember this, like the first year with Russell Wilson and Nathaniel Hackett, they lost at Seattle, and then they barely beat a Houston Texans team that had Davis Mills at quarterback, and you're counting down the play clock, and everybody was like, this Russell Wilson and this Nathaniel Hackett guy might not be him. Even though they won, it's like the scenario of college football. College football style points wins, and the way you win games win. In the NFL, it's not so much like that, except for, like you said, when you're playing a team that was so bad that they had to overdraft a Cam Ward at number 1 overall. If you don't win by a minimum, if you don't win by double digits, at least at my point, that's going to be something where I'm like, all right, guys, not the start that we were hoping to get off to. This isn't what Super Bowl teams do against inferior opponents.
The beauty of doing a show with a 31-year-old like you, as opposed to a 65-year-old, is your memory is a lot better than Bruce's and, quite frankly, mine. I couldn't tell you what I had for lunch yesterday. So with that, I want to take you back about 4 months. What did you think about this team after the draft in terms of your expectations, and have they changed at all today?
Well, when they drafted Jahdae Barron with their first-round pick, I was like, okay, that tells me that Sean Payton believes that this is a contender, because I was under the impression that they would go get a Travion Henderson, a Quinshon Judkins, what are those upper echelon running backs?
It's a good thing they didn't it's a good thing they didn't get Judkins.
Yeah, I don't know if that is a Judkins or a Cleveland Browns problem, because both of those guys seem to be destined for each other. But when they selected Jahdae Barron, I was like, oh, okay, so Sean Payton thinks they're contenders, which made me think,
you know what? Can I just cut you off real quick? They didn't take it. They didn't take him because he thought that they were contenders. At least I don't think. He was the best guy on the board. Period. He was the best guy there. And I would add on to that, Peyton probably felt, and now we have seen with RJ Harvey, that there is depth enough at that position where we can get a pretty good guy, at least comparable, in the second round. I'm not so sure they made the pick because he feels they're contenders. It's just the way the draft fell.
And also getting a cornerback in the first round, or drafting a cornerback when you have the best one in the NFL, tells me that you're probably trying to compete because you saw the tape against Cincinnati and against Buffalo, and you're like, hey, to win in the AFC with all these great quarterbacks and these great receivers, got to go get some guys on defense that can cover. So has my opinion of this team changed since the draft? No. I still thought that they were going to be 10-7, at best 11-6, and you get to the playoffs and anything can happen. I don't think anything has drastically changed from my standpoint, just because I kind of knew that they were going to return basically the same team. And at this juncture, again, I think they are a 10-7, 11-6 team. I don't think anything that's happened from the draft would make me be like, all right, they're going to be 12 wins, 13 wins, win the division, maybe compete to be a number 1 overall seed. I still think that they are similar to what they were last year. And the way health works, the way the ball bounces, you get one or more losses than you did last year. I think they're basically the same team.
I think this roster is considerably better. Considerably better. For starters, the running back room is better than it was last year. And you have guys who can run outside zone. So you have a veteran in Dobbins. Listen, would you rather have Dobbins or what they had last year in Javonte Williams? To me, that's a no-brainer, right? And we didn't even bring up Harvey yet. I think they are far stronger in that room. I think they are far deeper and stronger in the wide receiver room. Tight end, huge upgrade with Evan Ingram. Offensive line has stayed the same. You have Bo Nix going into his second year. Now, when you look at the front seven, what they have is far more depth as much as anything else. A lot of the guys are the same. And if Greenlaw can find a way to stay healthy, that guy is a force. So you've upgraded at that position as well. Jahdae Barron, huge upgrade. Not to say that, they needed upgrades with Moss and McMillan and Surtain, But now you have depth and a guy who can play multiple roles in the secondary. And then you bring on Hufanga. That is a far better pairing with Jones than, with all due respect to PJ Locke. I think in certain spots they have really improved. To me, this is a far better and deeper roster than it was last year. No?
Definitely more deep, but as you know, Eric, year in and year out, there's a team that makes the playoffs that doesn't make the playoffs. So whenever you have a guy like Bo Nix who's going into his second year, and trust me, I love Bo Nix. I believe in Bo Nix. But when you got guys like Burrow and you got Mahomes and Allen and Jackson, just in the AFC, that's what gives me a little bit of pause. Like, can Bo Nix elevate his game to that level?
Well, what do you think? Instead of forming it as a question, I'll ask you to make a statement. Do you think there's going to be a sophomore slump?
No, because he has his offensive line from last year back, and he has Sean Payton as a play caller. But I still don't think, like, hey, head to head, I don't think that he can beat all four of those guys. He probably could. I think the next step is don't get swept by Justin Herbert in the division. That, like, for me is like, what's progression? All right, can you sweep or can you split against Justin Herbert? And then can you get your statistics and your eye test on a comparable level with Allen, Jackson, Burrow, and Mahomes? I don't think it's realistic to think that he's going to be better than those four guys. But if you can be like when he went to Kansas City last year and should have beaten the Kansas City Chiefs, if you can do that against Mahomes twice in both of those matchups, I think that's progression. But I still think it's going to take another year or two to develop to be on the upper echelon of those four guys listed.
Speaking of quarterbacks, Colorado has named its starting quarterback. And also, as we head into the start of the Buff season, would you be this excited about the start of the Buff season if Deion Sanders wasn't the head coach? That's next. Everyone has their favorite sports bar. Mine, the Sportsbook Bar and Grill in Highlands Ranch in the DTC. Both locations are everything a sports bar should be. An upscale menu with 12 different burgers, outstanding wings, and my favorite, the Philly cheesesteak egg rolls. They've got every game on the NFL Sunday Ticket, MLB Extra Innings, NHL Center Ice, NBA League Pass, plus soccer, rugby, and UFC. Sportsbook is a hangout bar or great for private parties. The Sportsbook Bar and Grill in Highlands Ranch, the DTC, and coming soon to Parker. They are the sports bar.
Sasquatch and Wildcard Casinos in Black Hawk have another incredible promotion. They'll be giving away a Ford Maverick Tremor truck or over $25,000 in cash the weekend of October 24th. Daily cash drawings are every 45 minutes between 10 a.m. and midnight. Players can earn daily entries with every locked-up jackpot or by redeeming players' points on their players' cards. Sasquatch and Wildcard Casinos, loose slots, phenomenal promotions, great food, and a family-owned casino that treats you like family.
Everyone has their favorite barbecue spot. Mine, Smokin' Dave's Barbecue and Brew. My favorites, slowly smoked ribs, smoked corned beef Reuben, smoked meatloaf with a portobello balsamic cream sauce. Don't forget about Smokin' Dave's 16-hour smoked brisket and pork with one of their 4 homemade barbecue sauces. Great sides, you bet. Barbecue beans made with pork and brisket and their southern corn bake. Man, you got to try it. Plus, they have amazing non-barbecue entrees on the menu. Go where I go, Smokin' Dave's Barbecue and Brew in North Denver.
Ferguson's Heating and Cooling is the best in Denver, and their customers agree. Ferguson's has 165 5-star Google reviews, and here's one from Betsy. Highly professional, prompt, and honest. I switched to Ferguson's when I became aware my former company was trying to sell me a whole new system I didn't need. Ferguson's is an honest, working, family-owned business that'll give you a fair price, the highest quality parts and equipment, and they always show up on time. You can trust the Ferguson family like you trust your own family. Go to fergusonsheatingandcooling.com.
Spice up your next night out at Nola Jane and Lodo. Authentic Cajun cuisine like andouille sausage gumbo with dirty rice, crawfish etouffee, as well as 6 different po' boys like soft-shell crab and shrimp. Come in before or after a game at Ball Arena. Host a party or party on their rooftop deck overlooking Market Street during happy hour from 11 a.m. to 5. Plus, Nola Jane caters, delivers, and the kitchen is open late night. Make Nola Jane your new favorite spot to eat, drink, and party like it's Mardi Gras.
Ever wondered where city and county fleet vehicles go when they retire? Now's your chance to find out and score big. Imagine driving away with a great deal on a reliable vehicle. For over 45 years, Roller Auction has been the trusted source for government fleet vehicles and equipment. Trucks, SUVs, sedans, and more, all selling to the highest bidder. Don't miss out. Visit roller.bid/hot takes to get auction updates today. Your next vehicle could be just a click away.
And welcome back. Hot Takes Goodman and Haertl. Myck Miller from Fox 31 is filling in this morning. Real quick, want to tell you about Ferguson's Heating and Cooling. If you own a home, you want to have a great company that you can work with. You want to work with a company that is not going to sell you anything that you don't need. The way these companies work are when somebody comes out to your house, some of these guys who fix are sales guys as well. They want to get you into something brand new. Why? Because their commission is going to dictate they are going to make more money. That's not the way it works at Ferguson's Heating and Cooling. They're more than happy to come out and help you out. Fix what you need. If you need something new, they will recommend it, but they're not going to do it in a way where it's pressure sales. To me, those are the type of companies that I love to work with, and their customers agree. They have nearly 200 five-star Google reviews. If you have heating or cooling issues, go to FergusonHeatingandCooling.com. Time now for What's Trending.
What's Trending is presented by Ferguson's Heating and Cooling. Your family should trust the Ferguson family for all your heating and cooling needs, and you'll see why they have over 165 five-star Google reviews. Make an appointment today at Ferguson'sHeatingandCooling.com.
We're a couple of days away from the Buffs opening the season. Deion Sanders announced yesterday that Kaidon Salter is going to be the starter. He is the transfer from Liberty. He was fantastic when he played for Liberty for the 2 years he was there. Salter winds up beating out JuJu, the highly recruited kid from high school. Any surprise to you that Salter's the guy?
Yeah, I was shocked, but I think I was in the minority because I was pounding the table and saying, hey, if Julian Lewis graduated high school early to join the program and go down to the bowl game and be around Shedeur Sanders, and then he goes into camp and he's in a competition with a guy who has 4 years of college football experience. And Eric, as you know, in 2025, all it takes is Alabama, Auburn, Ohio State, or one of these programs that have an NIL collective that is ungodly and should have a salary cap placed on it. Just calling up JuJu or his representatives or his parents and being like, couldn't help but notice that Deion didn't start yet. We got like $4 million that's waiting for you. All you have to do is go tell Primetime, hey, I'm redshirting this season, and then he can be up out of there as soon as possible. In the world that we live in college football 2025, under the rules and regulations that are not, I was shocked that that Deion Sanders and the Buffs didn't give the keys to Julian Lewis as soon as possible, just because the upside in the future of that program lies in the hands of Julian Lewis. I'm sure Kaidon Salter, solid player, probably gives you the best chance to win against Georgia Tech and probably this season. But I'm always looking to the future, and I am always thinking about the transfer portal, NIL, and no offense to Boulder and no offense to Colorado alums that watch this show. You guys don't have the money that an Ohio State or one of these upper echelon programs in America have. So when you have an opportunity to get a five-star like Julian to choose your school and come to Boulder, he's not from here. He's not even from the West Coast. He's from Georgia. So the fact that you were able to get him is a miracle. And the fact that he's not starting was a little head-scratching to me.
Well, let me give you a little pushback on that. So you would have been out of your mind if you're a Texas fan and Arch Manning doesn't start day one.
Well, the difference is you had Quinn Ewers. You had other five-star quarterback recruit who won you a lot of games. If I didn't have a Quinn Ewers, I also was of the belief that if you have a Manning on your roster, he should not be a backup.
A Manning. Just any Manning. Pick a Manning, any Manning.
I don't care if it's the grandmother. If there's a Manning on your roster, you play him. But the argument would be in that scenario, Quinn Ewers probably was the best case scenario for Texas in that scenario. I don't see a Quinn Ewers on this Buffalo roster.
I think it is smart to play Salter for this reason. You give him some leash. It's not a totally long leash if indeed you feel JuJu is the guy. But if you start JuJu and he doesn't play well, you're going to kill his confidence. Let's see what happens with Salter. And if things go well, listen, the guy is experienced, right? JuJu certainly has talent. I get that. But there is no great rush. JuJu is going to be the starter next year. Period. So if he has to marinate on the bench for a little while, to me, that's fine. The one thing that was a little head scratching to me, and I'm paraphrasing here, Deion Sanders hinted that he would like to get JuJu on the field against Georgia Tech. And to me, that's a what are you doing moment. Why are you pulling your starter? I don't care who it is. Let the kid play. Don't force this kid to look over his shoulder that JuJu's getting ready to pop off the bench.
I'm sure you have been told this time and time again, if you have two quarterbacks, you have none.
Right.
I have never seen a successful juggling of two quarterbacks in a regular season that ended well.
Right.
You can have a Drew Brees and have Taysom Hill come in and, do short yardage situations, or you can do what the Chiefs do. Instead of having Patrick Mahomes do the tush push, you have a tight end do it. But juggling snaps between two quarterbacks, if you really believe in Kaidon Salter, say Kaidon Salters is our starter. Even if you don't feel it, even if you don't believe it, when you go to the podium and you talk with the media, Kaidon Salters is our starter. Next question. Instead of being like, we're hoping and praying that JuJu can get in the game. Really? That's what you're hoping and praying? You don't hope and pray that your starting quarterback can do everything on the field to help you win? That was definitely head-scratching. I picked up on it. I also picked up on, I'm sure you'll like this, is when he said Kaidon Salters is our starter, he's like, y'all knew that. Stop pretending like you guys didn't know that. Deion, we had no idea, actually. We're only allowed to go to one practice during training camp and had no clue. Truly had no clue. No one in America had any clue. Pat Shurmur had no clue on Monday. He was like, when Deion decides, that's when I will know that.
Were you at the press conference?
No, I was streaming at home.
Well, okay. So if for the sake of argument, you were there, you should have raised your hand and said, I'm stunned. So I didn't know. Because that's what you just said. You thought it was going to be JuJu. And I think some people did feel it'd be JuJu simply for the fact, he was highly recruited and he's considered one of the best high school recruits in the country. The difference between Drew Brees and Taysom Hill, just to piggyback on your point, is Drew Brees was an established starter. Drew Brees was ticketed already to the Hall of Fame. Drew Brees isn't looking over his shoulder at Taysom Hill. This kid, Salter, I'm not saying he's looking over his shoulder, but when your coach says, yeah, we might yank you for a couple of plays, it doesn't give me a lot of confidence that I have a long leash.
No, it doesn't give me any confidence at all, because here's the thing. Kaidon Salters played 4 years of college football. He's an older, experienced kid. He knows how this goes. If he gets pulled, let's say for the argument that there is a great play in the playbook, but it's catered for Julian Lewis. JuJu goes out on Friday, executes the play, throws a touchdown. What do you think is going to happen? Everybody in the press box is going to be like, the young kid's got a cannon. What a beautiful throw. All the kids in the student section are going to be like, JuJu. And all the alumni are going to be like, we paid him how much money and he was in for one play? Kaidon's got to know, it's one of those scenarios where you're teammates and you want your teammates to succeed. But I was that stupid, selfish kid. If I was on the bench and my backup had 10 points in 2 minutes, I was like, great, awesome. So he has to know, if he gets pulled and JuJu plays well, that leash is going to become very, very tight on him.
So are you suggesting, Myck Miller, I'm just going to paint a picture for you. You have a veteran quarterback who is not your future. And then you have a young quarterback who is new into, for lack of a better phrase, the league. And he has a game where, for the most part, in his first game, he looks really impressive. And now the crowd, the fans, and the media are going to start chirping, this guy is not our future. This other guy, new to the league, is the future. Could I paint that picture and just attach it to Colorado? Quick yes or no?
Absolutely. I think you can attach it to a team that plays in the NFL in Cleveland as well.
That's where I was going. That's exactly where I was. It's a similar situation, although JuJu isn't third on the depth chart. That's the difference.
Yeah.
He's not third on the depth chart. As we head into this season, it seems like now for the third year, we know what Colorado is, but we really don't. We know their defense is going to be good, if not better than last year. This is absolutely going to be a running team with Kaidon Salter. But it's the anticipation of we don't really know what it's not that we don't know what we're looking for or looking at, but it's almost the excitement. We have all of these new guys and we have a new quarterback. I think, to me, there's more of a curiosity with this team heading into Friday as much as anything else, because we really don't know what they look like. Year one, we had no idea what they look like. Going into year two, we had an idea, but there were so many transfers there, although Hunter and Shedeur were back. So now for the third year in a row, as we head into the opener, we really don't know who this team is, unlike most college programs we do.
Yeah, I have no clue. And I did a game with a couple of CU alum. I won't name their names, but they know who they are if they're tuning into this show. I asked them to name 5 Colorado Buffaloes. Couldn't do it. And oh, by the way, the consistent theme of a player that they named was Alejandro Mata. If you can't name 5 members of your roster and one of the people that everybody can name is your kicker, that tells me everything that I need to know.
So what's your point in about your friends who – if they watch if they are watching the show, we finally have 2 people who are actually watching the show. So I hope you called them to let them know that you were coming on.
Yeah, that and my mom. Shout out to mom for giving the show a couple of views. But yeah, like that's the point. That's the point of Deion Sanders led teams that don't have Travis Hunter or 2 players that you can immediately just say, "Oh, the Sanders kid." Like,
right.
Because of the portal era and because of how big Deion is, you don't really know the players until the games start. And you don't really know what the team is going to be like because Deion Sanders, like all college football head coaches, is so controlling. Nobody's going to have any idea because he is going to limit how much you can see and how much you can report on.
Would you be as excited for this upcoming season if Deion Sanders wasn't the head coach?
No. Eric, you know how this works. You know how us TV people are. We go where the big –
I don't know what you TV people are like. I left TV 15 years ago. Why don't you tell me what it's like in TV in 2025? I have no clue. I'm ancient. I'm an artifact. I'm a dinosaur. Shit, I'm doing a podcast now. Nobody wants to put me on broadcast TV. Look, I barely have any hair. What, are you kidding me? Look at you. Take off your cap. Take off your cap.
I'm not doing that either because why do you think I'm wearing a backwards hat? Because I didn't want 15 minutes of trying to figure out this terrible thing.
Dude, you're as bad as I am. Wait till you get to 57. My wife is trying to convince me to shave it, and she's not wrong.
If you guys get some sort of sponsorship with like what Deion got, where they got the little hair plants, I will come on a more consistent basis. But yeah, listen, let me tell you, like, we are TV people in 2025. It's the same that when you were in TV. We are going where the biggest story is.
Right.
Deion Sanders leaves Boulder, Colorado, and it's going to be about a 20 to 25 second mention in our shows. Deion Sanders is in Colorado. Guess what we led with last night? We led with Deion Sanders announcing the starting quarterback over Sean Payton talking about cut day. That doesn't happen if Deion Sanders isn't the head coach of the Buffs.
Yeah, I would agree with you there. So you're saying that you need to do something about your hair. Have you ever thought of hair transplant? Have you ever thought of that?
That whole Turkey thing that was like big on TikTok, like somebody was like, dude, you should go to Turkey. And I was like, for what?
What's in Turkey?
There was like this thing, it was like booming on social media where like there's this hair transplant thing, would do it super cheap. They'd fly you out, they'd put you in a hotel. And you know when things sound too good to be true?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I'm like, I don't know. So my buddy is balding worse than I am. And he's like, let's do it. And I was like, yeah, you do it for a year. You give me the before and after picture. And if I like what I see, maybe I'll do it.
There is actually something out there where they have hair for you and they glue it on. Have you seen this before? What's that?
A toupee?
No, it's not a toupee, because a toupee you can take on and off. This is permanent on your head. And I must tell you, it looks fantastic. Take it from a guy who's had 2 transplants, neither have taken, and I have nothing else left to harvest anymore. So I'm done. This is what I'm going to have for the rest of my life. As of right now, I have a lot of hair. Give it about 5 years, I'm going to be as bald as a cue ball.
Yeah, see, that's what gives me pause. Is I pay all this money, and then all of a sudden I'm like, didn't do anything.
You know what? I would recommend it, or just shave it off. You're a good-looking guy.
Well, as I tell my barber, I'm one bad haircut away from being Michael Jordan for the rest of my life. No pressure.
Well, for me, I don't bother going to the barber. I save the money and just let it fall out naturally. That's going to do it for us. Hot Takes, Goodman and Haertl. Myck Miller, thank you so much for joining us. Tell us about your show tonight on Fox 31.
Colorado Sports Night is the only 30-minute sports show in the state of Colorado. We are in multiple markets. It kicks off at 11 on the CW and on Channel 2. You can also stream it online at KDVR.com, so join us.
You were my big get today. Who's your big get tonight?
Don't have one just yet. Maybe we could do a little tradesy and you join us on CSN. Maybe we get you that camo hat and we get you in the suit. Just kidding. I don't make my guests do that at all.
I'm going to wear a shirt and wear a hat on backwards, and the shirt is going to say, just do me. Make it the best possible day you can.